Chapter 1: The Asteroid Gambit. The Veldran Coalition's fleet hung in the void like an impenetrable wall of black steel, blotting out the stars as it advanced. Hundreds of capital ships bristling with weapons, shields glowing with an ethereal blue, moved inexorably toward the leader system. The human fleet, what was left of it, was waiting in the asteroid field that circled the outer rim of the system's largest planet. Commander Jace Morley, standing on the bridge of the HHS Vanguard, surveyed the tactical map. His forces were outnumbered 10-1. If the Veldran broke through here, they would have a direct path to the core systems, the heart of humanity's galaxy-spanning empire. But surrender wasn't an option. "Commander," called Lieutenant Dross, "enemy fleet will be in weapons range in 15 minutes. We have insufficient firepower to meet them head-on." "I know," Morley muttered. He ran his fingers through his graying hair, his eyes narrowing as he studied the chaotic expanse of asteroids and debris on the display. The Veldran were powerful, far more advanced, with superior firepower and technology that seemed like magic. But they were rigid. Predictable. That was their weakness. "Bring us deeper into the field," Morley ordered. "Keep all active systems dark. I want us running on passive scanners only. Full stealth." "Aye, sir," Dross replied, a hint of confusion in his voice. "We're going to turn the asteroid field into our battlefield. They expect a stand-up fight, but we'll give them hell in here." As the Vanguard and the remaining human ships slid into the asteroid belt, Morley knew the Veldran wouldn't expect what was coming. Humanity had been fighting desperate wars since it crawled out of the mud on Earth. Creativity and improvisation had become their greatest weapons. The Veldran Admiral, Serac Nelvas, watched the human fleet vanish into the asteroids. "Fools," she hissed. "They hide in the rocks like rodents. Prepare the fleet for orbital bombardment." The Veldran ships spread out, methodically positioning themselves for a sweeping attack. Their massive energy cannons could obliterate entire asteroids, and their shields were nearly impervious to kinetic impacts. It was just a matter of flushing the humans out and crushing them. However, as the first Veldran destroyers entered the asteroid field, something strange happened. A colossal chunk of rock, suddenly pushed by hidden thrusters, slammed into one of the destroyers at a blistering speed, shattering its shields and crumpling its hull like paper. The ship detonated in a blinding explosion. Admiral Nelvas's eyes narrowed. "They are using the asteroids as weapons?" Before she could issue new orders, a second explosion rocked her fleet. Then a third. A human frigate, hiding behind the shadow of a massive asteroid, had flung debris and small mining drones at the vulnerable flanks of the Veldran ships, which were now in disarray. "We got them," Dross said with awe as another Veldran destroyer exploded on the tactical display. "They are scrambling." Morley allowed himself a grim smile. "Exactly what we wanted. Now, strike hard. All units, initiate ambush maneuvers." Human cruisers and frigates darted from behind asteroids, launching missile salvos and EMP warheads at the disoriented Veldran ships. Then they retreated into the field as quickly as they had appeared, using the natural cover to avoid counterfire. The Veldran's precision targeting systems struggled to lock onto the fast, erratic human ships, and the larger capital ships had difficulty maneuvering in the dense field without risking collisions. "Status on enemy flagship?" Morley asked. "The Nelvas, sir." "It's pulling back, trying to regroup outside the asteroid field," Dross reported. "Good. Let's give them a parting gift. Activate the Alpha payload." Deep within the field, hidden within a hollowed-out asteroid, the human fleet had placed an array of nuclear warheads rigged to dormant thrusters. At Morley's command, the thrusters ignited, and the asteroid, now a makeshift bomb, began a slow, silent drift toward the retreating Veldran flagship. The Veldran sensors finally detected the anomaly too late. The asteroid collided with the Nelvas just as the nuclear payloads detonated, sending shockwaves through the fleet and tearing the flagship apart in a blinding flash of light. The human ships, battered and few in number, watched as the remaining Veldran ships faltered. Their command chain broken, their morale shattered, they began to withdraw, retreating back into deep space. On the Vanguard's bridge, Morley sat back, exhaustion setting in. "They underestimated us," he said quietly. Chapter 2, Scorched Sand. The twin suns of Zelara V beat down mercilessly on the arid desert, where the human 43rd Marine Division had dug in. The alien Siren warriors, towering 8-foot-tall reptilian creatures, had pushed them back over weeks of relentless combat. Now, the Marines were cornered, outnumbered, and cut off from supply lines. To retreat meant death, to hold meant survival. Captain Elena Ross knelt in the scorching sand, her helmet off, sweat pouring down her brow as she surveyed the battlefield through her binoculars. Siren forces were advancing again, their energy shields shimmering, their plasma rifles tearing through the human barricades. But she wasn't worried. Not yet. "Lieutenant, status on the traps?" she asked, her voice calm despite the chaos. "All set, Captain," Lieutenant Matthews replied, his face dirty but determined. "We rigged everything we could find, spare power cells, broken drones, even some of their old tech. Should give them a surprise." Ross nodded, a small smile playing at her lips. Humanity had always been good at turning the environment into an advantage. The Siren, with all their strength and advanced tech, relied on brute force. Humanity? They were more subtle. "On my mark," Ross ordered as the Siren closed in. The ground trembled as they charged, their heavy footsteps causing sand to cascade down the dunes. Plasma fire zipped past, forcing the Marines to duck low behind makeshift barriers of scrap metal and burnt-out vehicles. Now. Explosions erupted from beneath the sand, tossing Siren soldiers into the air as their own captured tech turned against them. Improvised bombs, buried deep, tore through their energy shields and armor alike. What remained of the human forces launched a counterattack, using scavenged Siren weapons and hit-and-run tactics, disappearing into the dunes as quickly as they struck. The Siren commanders, unused to such tactics, hesitated. That moment of indecision was all Ross needed. The Marines surged forward, fighting not with superior weapons but with sheer ingenuity and grit. They had adapted to the harsh desert, using every scrap of tech, every piece of terrain to their advantage. And where the aliens saw only chaos, the humans found victory in the disorder. To the Siren and Veldran, humanity was a wild, unpredictable force, one they had thought they could easily crush. But in the cold vacuum of space and the burning sands of distant worlds, they were learning a hard truth. Humans were survivors. And they never gave up the fight.